Knit City Soccer Show. I'm Matt Swift. With me, he's back, David Gussler. How are you, sir?
What's up, buddy? I tried to make a dramatic entrance there. I don't know if you caught it. I think Vaughn did, but it didn't work. It didn't work out as according to plan. So I know this is a visual median right now, but tomorrow when people are listening on the podcast, it doesn't matter. So, but I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Hate that you couldn't join us last week, but good to have you back this week, sir.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And as you guys can see on the live feed here, we have a very special guest. He is back, Vaughn Pullman. Vaughn, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm hype. I
know
you guys. I'm ready to dig in.
I know you have a lot to say. We have a lot to catch up on. And David, like I said, you didn't get to join last week, so I'm sure you have a lot of things that you want to discuss as well. So let's jump right into this. And guys in the stream, like, leave your comments, leave your questions. We'll try to answer some of these as we go instead of doing them at the end. Like I said, we have a lot to cover. And I want to give Vaughn a lot of time to get into everything that he's been wanting to. So let's start with some departures, because we've had a lot of them. We had one official today. Mello is gone. Jozwiak is gone. Swiderski is gone. Corujo. So, Vaughn, what do you think about these departures? Good, bad? What are your thoughts?
I mean, the hot take going around is that these were the dominoes that needed to fall to, relieve the roster and right?
No. There's Vaughn. So I think we lost you for a second, Vaughn. Go ahead.
Sorry. Did you hear me at all?
Sorry. You're good.
I was just saying that, the hot words that have been going around is that these were the moves that needed to happen, the dominoes that needed to fall to give us flexibility. And the fan base is sick and tired of hearing that already. People are ready for moves coming in, not pieces going out. But that's why I'm so hype is, there's a lot of moving pieces that impact the salary cap, that impact our roster designations. And I wanted to be able to provide some context behind that. What do those numbers mean? What do those roster spots mean? And also it's kind of setting the expectations of what should the team be doing with this flexibility, right? It's acknowledging the mistakes that have happened and kind of lining up where the team needs to go from here. So I guess let's dig in to the part of Swiderski and Jozwiak. 2 DPs off the books. I think it's pretty clear. Everybody understands now that Kamil Jozwiak being on the roster as a full-fledged designated player, not ever getting to the point where he was bought down, was really restrictive to not only our salary cap, that the output didn't match that tag, but that also it limited us on our U22 spots. Now, we only had 2 U22 players on the roster officially. That was Kerwin Vargas and Vinicius Mello. There was a third that never was able to join the first team, and that was Nikola Pekovic. Still not signed to the team, but I think we all know that that's imminent. So ultimately, what does that mean? Getting Jozwiak off the books, all DPs are 12.5% of the salary cap. 12.5% of the salary cap. It's a steep amount. By getting him off the books, we now have the 2 U22 spots available again, 2 that were underutilized or not utilized. And we open up an international spot with him off the books, and now these 2 DP spots. There is so much that the team can do. And now that's where everybody's chomping at the bit is, okay, these moves have happened. Players have left. When are the signings going to come in to replace it? We all know that Grunbeck was our number one target. He had to have been, right? You don't go after a young designated player. That's what his designation would have been, and try and spend $10 million, fail to sign the guy, and then you're like, well, who's next in line? right? Like the team's ambition is there to replace Jozwiak with that young designated player. Like it would set us up for now and a long time ahead, and it hasn't happened, right? Like I see people in the post, team optimism. Part of this is also team realism, right? Like I'm not all going to be rosy about this. Like mistakes have happened. Like we painted ourselves into some corners, and the fan base is ready for us to. It's not just seeing a little bit of progress and making the playoffs and getting a home playoff game. No, we want to be competitive. We want to be going for titles. And the feeling right now is, yeah, we're way off of that metric. So I'll dig into the numbers as we go through the episode, because I think I don't want to just carry the whole conversation. I want your guys' takes on Jozwiak and Swiderski and is the sky falling? Because to me, the sky's not falling, and I can justify that. But I think that the general sense from the fan base is that it is.
Oh, for sure. That's what I've seen on social media and Slack is a lot of concerns, complaining. But for me, you have to get these people off the book so you can bring people in. You can't make moves with these people here, plain and simple. So people have to understand that. I think the big thing was Jozwiak for 2 years. We've kind of all said, hey, he needs to go. He's not panning out. So getting him gone is a huge win for us. The other thing that I want to talk to both of you guys about and get your take is the Swiderski deal. One of the things that's been frustrating me about our fan base lately is something will come out. They'll read one little thing and they latch on to that and they start talking about it as if it's completely true. Like when the loan deal came out, people were like, oh my God, we're getting nothing out of this. He's still considered a DP. And like, I think the show should be sponsored by Prozac. Like people that think some of our fans need it, man. Like let things play out a little bit and come to find out. None of that was accurate. We have a DP slot that's open now. We are going to get paid for this. It's a good move. Swiderski didn't want to be here, but David, you hadn't had a chance to really jump in yet. Like, what are your thoughts about Jozwiak? You've been pretty vocal about Jozwiak, like getting him gone out of here. But like, what are your thoughts about these two guys moving on?
Well, I have to first pull up this comment because this was the first thing that went through my head. Vaughn and Swift. It's not about Jozwiak. It's not about Karol. It's about who's going to be Sermenti now that Mello's gone. So I need to know who's going to be filling the void for Sermenti. So Defend the Queen asked that question. And I had that question. Who's going to be filling that void now that he's officially gone?
I mean, I wouldn't mind hopping in that costume and doing it. I'll do it.
I think, and I'm not saying this as a short joke, Swift, but I think you would fill the suit out very well compared to some of the recent fillings where the head is kind of doming out of it a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah. No, sure. So from the recent moves, and I know I've texted both of you privately over the past few weeks, like having my little like moments of what the hell's going on. Should I get frustrated here? Talk me off the ledge. What's going on? Okay, I'm feeling better. It's kind of like the 5 different stages of grief a little bit, where I'm at acceptance now. I'm feeling better about it. I guess my biggest, I don't want to say fear, because we've all been asking for Camille to be moved. Camille was a decent player. I think he could have been a decent MLS player, but for us to be spinning a DP spot and basically log jamming the roster, it was not the right move for us long term. Karol being moved on a loan frees up a potential DP spot, maybe during summertime if he gets sold. I know we're going to touch on that later on, but my biggest fear right now is that, yes, we have sold and have opened a ton of roster flexibility, which is great. Like that is going to help us the long term. It's going to be able to get us potentially able to spend more on DPs than what we have historically or previously, which is another great thing. Like the fact that we were the guy that from Norway that we were able to potentially spend 10 million plus for would have been huge, right? I think it would have been top 10 in MLS, incoming transfers for that kind of money, right? But my fear right now is just, I'm not too concerned about the DPs because I like the roster that we have currently, especially with Dean, Smith coming in and coaching. I worry a little bit about some of our key starting roles and the depth that we have, and we haven't brought any pieces. And I'm not saying like, why haven't we brought in a DP or anything like that? And I know we'll talk about roster depth, but I just worry right now that we're 18 days away and we still truly don't know who our starting right wing is. We don't really have much CB depth. Midfield is what it is. I think it's going to be the same thing as last year, but it's just the depth pieces. And like even striker, you got Patrick and Enzo now, right? And that's pretty much it that we have from last year. So, it's good. A lot of us were yelling and kicking and screaming last year around, we need changes, we need upgrades. And then the team does it. And now we're like, holy shit, like, why are you doing all this change all at once? We all wanted it. It just, now we have to kind of see what's going to happen next. So that's where I'm kind of ultimately feeling right now.
Yeah, I think the moves are a little jarring, and people are concerned that we're not getting in these signings. But one of the things, Vaughn, before I kick it back over to you, one of the things I want everybody to just keep in mind is that Pekovic is going to be joining. Pedro's going to be joining. Patrick's going to get more minutes. These are kind of signings, and we just had Jose on, who covers the Union, on last episode, and he talked about this pipeline. So we have people joining the team. I don't think people really like it because it's not really sexy. We're not going out overseas and grabbing a player, but players are going to be filling in these roster spots. And these are people that I've seen, like, people clamoring for. We wanted more Patrick Ogman. You're going to get that. We want Brandon Cambridge more. You're going to get that. Diop, Tavares, Tiger Smalls. Like, we have people that, one, I've heard have been training well and playing well, and the coach actually likes too. So we have people joining, but I do understand the concern of we do need to bolster the roster some.
So, and not to play devil's advocate, because I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic now, which is weird for me to say because I'm feeling good with where we're heading right now. My only fear, and I think someone mentioned it in the chat, I got to scroll back through here and say it, but like, and from your experience with, you followed MLS longer than I did beforehand, I'm good with promoting younger players and getting the depth and the pieces there. I just worry that we're kind of going into the FC Cincinnati, where we promoted our USL squad up to MLS and expecting them to be able to play MLS minutes frequently, right? Maybe that's a good stopgap for the next 6 to 8 weeks. We get some depth in here, but is that truly in case you even said it right, are we on the FC Cincinnati track of a rebuild, right? Like, could it be some rough waters the first 6 to 12 months, and then long term we benefit from it, or are we going to be kind of expecting it to be rough for a little while? What do you guys think?
I think that there was also a very heavy narrative last year about this team having square pegs in round holes. And a lot of that centered around Karol Swiderski and Kamil Jozwiak. In MLS, you have to hit on your designated players, and you have to hit on your U22 players to really elevate the level of your team. There's a lot of ways you can build a good squad. That can be through those signings, through the DPs and U22s. It can be through your academy, your homegrowns, your ability to make domestic players that you get through international trades. There's a lot of ways that you can skin the cat, right? But I think our front office made a fairly significant misstep signing our first two premier designated players that both played their natural position at the number 9. They had the same position. So you created a really sticky situation for Karol Swiderski, where you said he's very technically gifted. He likes to play centrally. He's good with his back to goal. He's good, dropping deep and going and receiving the ball. He's good at passing. They looked at his skill set and said he can do this role that Latanzio desired as the number 10. But when we signed him, that was not what we were going for. So we had non-complementary pieces. And then you end up with Kamil Jozwiak, who I think was brought in part for that acclimation, a Polish teammate coming in and being there. He did lead the team in assists last year, and that was in his spotty results, spotty minutes, questionable form, all of those sorts of things. So these guys contributed. Like, I'll dig into Karol Swiderski, because Karol Swiderski is a big subtraction from the roster. He led the team in goals the first 2 seasons. He was our leading goal contributing player. So we're going to need to take a look at, under Dean Smith, does his system set up the players that are on the pitch for success where they, as a collective, yield greater results? It's not a matter of we have to replace the goals that are no longer on the roster, right? Karol Swiderski, Kamil Jozwiak, and I want to loop in Justin Merrim because he contributed a good bit as a starter as well. They contributed, I think it was 18 goals and 15 assists. That's 33 goal contributions that we have to replace. So we have to take a look at who our midfielders are between Brecht Diagra, Arfield, Brant Bronico, Ashley Westwood, Kerwin Vargas, whoever comes in and is playing right wing. Those guys need to make up that difference. They need to cover those goals in the same minutes. And it's going to really rely on Dean Smith's tactics and system for, do we create more goal chances? Are there more shots on goal? Are we getting into more dangerous areas? And are we still finding the back of the net? It's simple as that.
That's what Dean was known for at Brentford, right? Like, he was able to kind of get a lot out of, quote unquote, lower spending rosters and players that people didn't really hear of before, right?
Well, and also right now, you want to have Dean Smith's, I think my sense of things was that we wanted Dean to start this training camp. He had film on the guys, but he wanted to get to know the guys, see them in training camp, get a sense of what their strengths were, what the pieces are going, have those face-to-face interactions and one-on-one coaching moments. And then we would make some decisions from there. I think he identified some of the players early on. I mean, he said flat out, Kamil Jozwiak is not the profile winger that I want, that I'm looking for. And I told him that directly, right? So writing was on the wall for Kamil Jozwiak. Because Kamil Jozwiak in a certain system, with a certain coach, could yield better results. He's got to be set up for success. But is he a pacey, direct winger? Does he like making horizontal runs? Is he going to take shots? I told you guys mid-season, I was like, through 2 years that he'd had like 7 shots on goal or something ridiculous. I think he finished the season with like literally 4 shots on goal.
But I thought if you do it in Poland, you can do it in Salt Lake, sir. I thought that was. I'm just joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, that quote didn't age well for sure.
No, it didn't. But that's also what that is at the end of the day, our DPs were not to the level that they needed to be. We needed to make changes. They needed to be complementary to one another. And I want to have a little quiz time with you guys.
Oh,
because I've talked about Capetti, right, and how I think he's going to take a jump this year. And that there weren't complementary pieces to him.
Yeah.
So are you ready for the quiz?
Hit me.
Let's do it.
How many times was Enzo Capetti assisted from midfield last year? How many times did a midfielder feed and assist Enzo Capetti on a goal?
I'm going to say 2.
I'm going to go 1.
0.
Oh.
He never was fed from midfield. The only time that Karol Swiderski assisted Enzo Capetti was the first goal of the season when Karol was playing on the right wing. He sent a cross in at St. Louis, and Enzo Capetti headed it in. Other than that,
and it was like a flick, wasn't it? It wasn't even like a major header. It was just like flick back. That's it.
It was a redirected header, but he was the target. It was the ball being sent in. But outside of that, the assist came from Jalen Lindsay on a Route 1 ball. Brandon Cambridge in the Open Cup. That was a tap in. That was actually the only one that was in the box on the ground. Gaines on a cross, Merrim on a corner, and Vargas on a cross. It all came from the wings.
Yeah.
So Kamil Jozwiak never assisted Enzo Capetti.
Yeah, having them both on the field at the same time has been a problem because, and even now, if he were to stay, where do you play him? And then also you're dropping to the bench someone who naturally plays in those positions too. I have something else to bring up. I have not been a fan of Capetti so far, but I am hearing really good things about training. I hear his English is a lot better. He has a lot better attitude. He's excited about this season. But we talked about Swiderski and Capetti goals. Like, and David or somebody, if you could bring this up, I think Swiderski ended with what, 12 goals? I think
12 goals. I think it was 5 assists.
And I think Capetti had
goals,
6, right? Yeah. So
yes.
Capetti had 6, right?
6 goals, 2 assists.
4 of Swiderski's goals were PKs. Now, you saw Swiderski and Capetti fight over those PKs a lot. If those PKs go to Capetti's our leading goal scorer. So something to think about too. And don't get me wrong, I have not been a Capetti fan, but I found that kind of interesting when I was looking at the goal tallies and kind of to your point, Vaughn, like where are we going to get contributions from? So I'm looking for big things from Capetti this year too. But to kind of move along a little bit, one of the other things I want to get your thoughts on, Vaughn, is our defense and Corujo. I know you had some thoughts around that and some of the budget there. Do you want to speak a little bit about Mr. Guzman?
Let's dig into budgeting and the dollar figures. And I'll start with Corujo, and then I'll roll back into Jozwiak and what those dollars mean.
Only if we call this Von Stradamus 101. Because it's like
also,
you're teaching a college class here for this.
Also, too, before we start, can you bring up Jake's picture back up for his comment earlier about my height? I want to look at this photo.
I pulled the most recent one there. That is a wonderful headshot. This is the funnest game that we do.
Look at this. So Corey's in the background. He's dressed like a lumberjack. Look at Jake here. This is like Hallmark movie quality.
Jake, I feel like you could still like. Yeah, I know. Me too. Jake has the most like impressive beard out of all of us.
He's like 7 foot tall. He should be in Hallmark movies. I'm gonna like pitch him. I'm gonna be his agent. I'm gonna be his agent and pitch him some movies. Go ahead. Sorry, Vaughn. Let's talk about Guzman Karuo in the roster.
Yeah. So Guzman Karuo. Last year, per the MLSPA figures, his salary was $658,750. He played 357 league minutes. That's a lot of money for not a lot of contribution to the first team.
Yeah.
And I think we saw that he seemed to not quite have the same spring in his step that we'd seen in 2022. I mean, he was arguably our best player in the inaugural season. He was massive for us.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Vaughn, before you go, do you think a little bit, he was injured, like you said, maybe lost a step. Do you think it's partly that, or do you think it was Latanzio not liking his kind of style of play? Do you think it was a little bit of that or a little bit of both, or what do you think?
I think it is a mix of Latanzio's system being very demanding on the center backs. I mean, really on the entire midfield and back line. That's really what happened, is Latanzio's system was very demanding of pressuring the ball, getting high up the pitch. And so we were really, we really struggled, and we were pretty poor in transition moments. And that's going to be one of the things I'm going to talk about later about Dean Smith and what I'm hoping to see in the club. So Guzman Karuo coming off an injury, I don't think he ever built up game fitness again, like to be 90 minutes fit. From the jump, we saw Adilson Malanda as a right center back, and Guzman Karuo, same thing, primary position, right center back. There was a lot of conversation being like, well, one can play on the right, one can play on the left. Yeah, they can, but is that setting that player up for success? Is that putting that player in a position where he's comfortable? Is that where he's going to further his career, right? Like, yeah, we could move Adilson Malanda there, but does it benefit him and behoove him to be playing out of position? Not really. Guzman Karuo, you want him to be able to step forward and be a distributor of the ball, and he's constantly receiving it on his weak foot. he's a professional soccer player. He should be able to do that. But are you setting him up for success in that? Simple as that. And I think that ultimately in the depth chart, and we see the depth chart that is kind of shaking out heading into the season. Right now, we've got for sure Adilson Malanda. I think you can write him in as a starter.
Yeah.
Who's playing beside him is probably between Bill Tuiloma and Andrew Privet. And we have in the mix João Pedro, who was MLS Next Best 11 as a center back, as well as potentially Hamady Diop, who we drafted first overall and came out of the college game as a center back. And Guzman Karuo was in that mix. But if he's not figuring as a starter, if he's looking like he's missing a step, if those minutes aren't going to be there for him, his salary was too high. Mm-hmm. The max salary budget charge is that same 12.5% of the roster budget. So this coming year, that in 2024, the TAM level, that demarcation line is $683,000 and 750 cents, or $750. $683,750. Guzman Karuo was basically at that number. So if you've got a guy that is eating up that much of your salary cap, it's just too great if he's not going to get the minutes. And if they've identified that, both for the player's got to want to go. Right? Like, I'm sure Corujo is like, I want minutes. I want to be playing. I'm 27 years old and I'm coming off this injury. I'm dying to get out there and play again. And I don't think those opportunity for minutes were coming for him.
What was it ever reported? Was it like a mutual termination or like a contract termination?
It's not done yet. He's still on the roster.
Right. Got it.
It's
not been confirmed. It's just been leaked, basically.
Yeah. But I think even so, like I was saying it last week before there was any rumors, I felt Corujo's salary figure was too high if he's not playing. It's kind of the same situation for Nathan Byrne, honestly. Like between Nathan Byrne, if Jalen Lindsay becomes the full-time starter, Nathan Byrne is making too much money to be on the roster. But that's probably why he's going to get more starting minutes. You just don't want guys in that level. So let me talk about Kamil Jozwiak, his salary, him coming off the books, and what that means for the books. Everybody's talking about, we freed up so much space. We got so much roster flexibility. We had to clear him off the books. What the F does that mean?
I'm going to have a drink
dig
while
into
you
what
do
that
this.
means. Please do.
I need to have
Please
a drink.
do. So that 683,750 number that I told you, right? That is the max salary budget charge, 12.5% of the salary cap. All DPs hit the cap at that number. So by removing Kamil Jozwiak, what can we replace him with? A young designated player, depending on his age, hits the cap at either $150,000 or $200,000. Then U22 players hit the cap. Same thing, depending on their age, at $150,000 or $200,000. So us being able to sign a young designated player, which could be somebody to the size of an Albert Grunbeck, so up to a $10 million player or beyond. So young designated player, a U22 player that is going to ultimately be Nikola Pekovic, who was a $3 million transfer to the team, an additional U22 player out there in the market, and you're only spending, at that point, max $600,000 against the cap. Mm-hmm. So you still have $85,000 roughly, $83,750 still available, which is pretty close to what the league minimum salary is. So we just signed David Bingham to be our backup or third string goalkeeper. So I will be able to remove Jozwiak from the roster, and on the books, I can sign that young designated player, the two U22 players, and my backup goalkeeper for the same salary cap hit as Kamil Jozwiak. This is why that corner was so bad that we painted ourselves into with Kamil Jozwiak. His output did not justify putting us in that corner. If he was out there contributing 20 goals, wouldn't have the conversation. Wouldn't care. We'd be like, great, fine. He's to a high enough level. He wasn't. And then beyond that, I should have said this for Guzman Karuo. With him being so close to the max salary budget, you can sign a TAM level player that's above that level. So when the team's saying, hey, we've identified we want a left-footed center back, so a left center back, and we want a right winger. Well, if you're taking Guzman Karuo off the roster and you're adding in a left-footed center back who figures to be the starter, that player you should be targeting between that 683,750 up to a cap hit of 1,683,750. So we should be able to sign a player that is to a much higher level than a Guzman Karuo.
Yeah.
To be the starter next to Adilson Malanda.
That's why I'm not as freaked out as I think other people are, is that I think we're making really good moves right now to adjust the roster. The Jozwiak deal is that's been like the bottleneck, the choke point, right? So getting him out of here frees up so many things. So that's why I'm excited about all these moves that we're making. I know everybody's freaking out about like not getting players in. Now we can do that. We couldn't do anything until he was gone. Maybe Corujo is going to be leaving. Mello has left. Swiderski's moving on. So I feel a lot better about things. So I'm hoping everybody will be patient. I know it's 2 weeks away. But you know, there could be some deals that we make within MLS. Like there's things that we could do. There's targets out there. I'm hoping this week and next you'll start seeing some of those moves. But Vaughn, anything else that we missed or didn't cover that you wanted to touch on?
I mean, do we want to dig into the state of the roster and kind of let's be real about where it's at? Because I think that's where the frustration really is born for the team or for the fan base, right?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, that's great. We've cleared the books, we got all these guys off, but we haven't added anyone.
Yeah.
Are we estamos jodidos right now?
Gusler, before we dive into that, any questions from the fans? Any comments? Anything we need to address about what?
So we've got a few, and I'm gonna burn through the ones that are relevant. But there's a few comments here earlier. Like Casey even said, like I'm calling it 3 to 5 signings the next two weeks. So you know, it kind of has the comment of what you guys were kind of talking about a little bit. We got some stuff here about starting 11, which I know we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Let me see here. Before we dive into the hit of the roster here, but do you think, from Jay here, do you think Swiderski was worth it? And did we hit on Swiderski as a DP? Just out of curiosity. So, Vaughn, I'll let you go first here.
Well, you see me having an enthusiastic yes head nod. Statistically, it was a hit. In terms of hitting on the star persona and that charismatic guy, no. We swung and missed big time on that front. I don't think that Karol Swiderski ever created an emotional connection to the city, the club, or the fans. I think that there was something missing in that special sauce because we've seen other foreign players come to the league, designated players, and they become ingratiated to the city, the team, the people there. I'm talking about a Diego Valeri type player coming out of Argentina and joining the Portland Timbers. Karol Swiderski could have become a talisman for this club. He could have been the on-field leader statistically, as well as also how he carried himself. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, his output of goal contributions matched what our spend was. The $5 million, he gave us a $5 million player worth of talent on the field. But he did not do that other it factor intangibles to make him the perfect signing. And that's why he's leaving after 2 years instead of staying for all 4.
Yeah, I think Swiderski is he's kind of a quiet, private guy, and I think Jay can probably speak to this. I think he probably interacted with some of the Polish community with his family and stuff like that. But yeah, he wasn't like out and bubbly. You didn't see a lot of, post on social media about Charlotte FC. David, I think you had mentioned that at one point, right?
I may or may not have mentioned that a year or so ago.
Yeah. So and I think his, he's come out and said his goals and aspirations are to go to Europe. And look, we're going to have players that come here for a year or two and they jump. That's just the nature of it. You hope you get someone that's going to stay here forever. And to Vaughn's point, Diego Valeri is a perfect example of someone that you want to try to get here. But yeah, I just, go ahead, Vaughn.
Well, I think the other thing that maybe I've been guilty of as well is saying that we lacked a talisman on the team. I've said that you have to have your talismans, you have to have your cornerstones, and it doesn't feel like we've had that. At the end of the day, Karol Swiderski was our best player. And I did not say that he was a talisman, but I think some of that is because of how he carried himself and how he was that, visual leader. I went back and looked, and I'm going to dig in later to some parallels to a special team that just won MLS Cup, the Columbus Crew.
Yeah.
And they had a talisman DP in Lucas Zelarayan that everybody loved, talked about as an MVP level talent and a game changer for them. If you go back and look, Karol Swiderski's goal contributions were neck and neck with Lucas Zelarayan. And it just doesn't feel like it. It just doesn't. Like Lucas Zelarayan, I think, was like 10 goals, 6 assists. In the past 2 years, like both years, it was like 10 and 6, and I think 10 and 7. Granted, that 10 and 7 or 10 and 6 past year was also like half season because he left. But the impact felt very, very different. The importance of that player to the team felt very, very different. And to the city felt very, very different. And yes, that could be cultural. That could be part of it. But Lucas Zelarayan was recognized as a talent and the best player for Columbus Crew and somebody every team would covet league-wide. So Columbus Crew, they were able to move on from him and be just fine and not skip a beat. They replaced him. They immediately 2 days later had a Diego Rossi lined up. I'm not going to say that. And they still had a Cucho Hernandez on the roster. And I'll dig into some of those parallels later. But the point being is I think we're going to be able to overcome this Karol Swiderski thing and hit on a DP in the future that brings some of those other intangibles to the table.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the state of the roster. Vaughn, I know you have some thoughts. Let's talk about the depth, who you might see starting. What do you got for us?
Well, first of all, where are we weak, right? We went from being a team very quickly where it was like, hey, we got a lot of pieces that make sense. We don't have a lot of holes to, whoa, we've got some gaping holes. We are woefully thin at winger. There's a real question mark of who our starting center backs are. And if they're to the level they need to be to really take us to that next level. And it's a question of where the goal is going to come from. We do currently lack that MLS best 11 adjacent. I'm not saying best 11. I'm saying like in the ballpark of MLS best 11. We don't have that guy on the roster unless somebody takes a massive step forward. So the team and the roster and who's going to be starting. Do we want to kind of go on line by line of who we think is going to be starting on each line and then kind of go from there?
Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah.
If you want to, take us through your starting line. Sure.
So keeper, we're set. I think that at this point is Kalina. No changes there. No surprise. He's transferring out later tonight. I don't think that's happening. Back line. I just said, for the spend, I think Byrne is going to have to be the starter. There's clearly a position battle there. It's going to be a split of minutes at right back between Byrne and Lindsay. Adilson Malanda, write it in. He's going to be getting 2,500 to 3,500 minutes as the starting right center back. Left center back right now, as of today, is going to be, depending on probably fit, gel, and what Dean Smith wants to do, a mix between Bill Tuiloma and Andrew Privet. Andrew Privet obviously got put into that position. He's not a natural center back, but he filled the role and he did well. And we started to trend in the right direction defensively the second half of the season, really post Leagues Cup with him in that spot and locking it down. And then Jere Urinen, write it in stone, like etch it right in. He's the starting left back.
Yeah, one of my favorite players actually, and again, such an amazing signing. But yeah, go ahead.
Do you guys have any different opinions on the back line?
No, the only thing is, you touched on a little bit with Corujo. Is like, okay, you get rid of him. I could see that for the roster salary and stuff like that. But then you're asking Privet to again play out of position. But my question is, would he be this year a more stay-at-home defender? Because Malanda, bless his heart, was left stranded time and time again back there. I mean, Malanda was exhausted by the end of games. So whoever his partner is, are they going to stay more at home, or are they going to push forward? And I think that would be the big telltale sign of who is it going to be. Bill? Is it going to be Privet, or do we go out and get someone else? So just kind of a thought there. I think that's the only thing that I can think about when it comes to Privet in that role.
Yeah, totally agree. And I don't think they're going to be as stretched out. I mean, I don't think that the system, everything that is being verbalized, what we've seen on tape of Dean Smith teams, right now it's going to be keeping it simple, keeping it compact, not getting too aggressive. I think the aggression is going to be in counter pressing. Right now we hear everybody talking about counter pressing and us, when we get possession, going quickly and attacking with pace and with purpose. And taking chances early on in build up and not waiting for defenses to get set. So those transition moments where we would give the ball away in bad spots in midfield and then not pressure the ball, and then those quick switches that left our high line, back line exposed, I think those moments are going to be gone. I think it's going to look a lot different. And we'll touch on that too, because I've got some thoughts later on of my early season questions, but we'll get there. Midfield line. Midfield line is where we probably have the most depth right now. Mm-hmm. And it's really going to be more a question of what do we do when we're in a single pivot and when we're in a dual pivot defensively. Meaning, are we playing a 4-2-3-1 where we have two defensive midfielders? Are we playing in a 4-3-3 that has an attacking pivot? That's going to depend on form, personnel, team that we're playing, and what Dean's wanting to try and accomplish. But I think we have the most MLS good players in the midfield.
Yeah, I wonder that the pivot part, where Westwood and Bronico fit with Dean. Is he gonna start Bronico? Because I think Westwood's pretty much a lock. So who's going to be his partner? Does Dean see Bronico maybe staying more at home, letting Westwood go forward more? Because I don't think I want to see the reverse of that. I don't want to see Bronico bombing forward as much this year. I don't. Pivot. Nice. We had a show titled Pivot one time.
We did.
But anyway,
we did.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my big question mark too in the midfield is what is Dean going to do with Bronico? And I think that kind of sets the rest of the midfield. But go ahead, Vaughn. Keep going.
So MLS good level guys that should figure for starting minutes and be eating up a lot of minutes include absolutely Westwood. Arfield is starting hot. Diagra, but right now out of the gates, I wouldn't be shocked if he'd played more on the wing, but he's definitely going to get his minutes centrally. Diagra, you mentioned Bronico, and if he is brought up in, which I expect he will be, Nikola Pekovic. We have some like legitimate options and depth and different tools in the toolbox in midfield. Now, among that, right, like the team was still trying to sign an Albert Grunbeck. None of those guys have shown a propensity to carry a team in goals or in assists. That's going to be the real question is, does Dean Smith's system produce those opportunities organically? Because we don't have a player that is just a put it on my shoulders and run the show. Yeah. And that is probably what our team is missing to take that next jump, that next year. You guys have heard me talk about Bronico. I'm not going to dig into him again. I love the guy, but that's what I've been talking about, of like a higher level guy. You can get a midfielder that is to a very high level that can be a team MVP. And we do not have a team MVP right now that is in that MLS best 11 category that would take this team to a whole nother level.
Yeah. David, what's your thoughts on the midfield? Who would you like to see?
Well, because I have Brant's jersey behind me, I'm just gonna say Brant because that's my boy. But no, I'm just
you're my boy.
Yeah, I right. I'm super interested to know where you said, and correct me if I'm saying this wrong. Petrovic coming in. Pekovic. Sorry, Pekovic coming in, because from what I understand, he is more of a CDM, correct?
Yeah.
So we tried Westwood.
He's a CDM, but he played as an 8 a lot for Crown Legacy.
Did he? Okay. So because like the beginning of the year last year, we had Westwood as more of that 8, and then Brant more as that 6. And then as the season went on, we tended to move Brant up to that 8, even up to that Cam a little bit, and then moved Westwood back to that 6, right? And so I wonder where he's going to fit in, because if they're going to move him up to the U22 spot, like they're gonna want to play him, like that's the ultimate goal, right? And so I think Brent would start over him at the beginning of the season, but as the season goes on and as he gets more experience and tenure and et cetera with the team, I think you could see a difference there. I'm interested to know where Brecht and Scott fit. I mean, I kind of expect Brecht to be a winger now for us, just because he played winger last year at certain times, and our depth there is so low. And I'm sure you're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but I think he'll be playing that winger. So I think Scott's going to get some time. And he's starting from the clips on training. He's starting pretty hot. So, salute to him. So, but I agree with what you're saying there for it. So.
Yeah, no, Scott's going to be this is going to be make or break for him. I don't think he got a lot of minutes last season. I think when the coach did bring him in, sometimes he was asked to do a role that didn't really benefit him. I like that, and we talked about this last show. I like that he'll just shoot the ball. He gets an opening, he'll shoot it. Things happen when he's on the field. I want to see him get more minutes. Starting 90 minutes every single game, I'll have to just wait and see. But I want to see how he does the rest of this preseason in Coachella. So that's one person that I'm going to be really looking at, and Vargas is going to be the other one that I'm really going to be looking at. But I like the fact that Brecht and Scott are going to get more of a chance this year. So I'm excited about that. But Vaughn, thoughts on the wings? Thoughts on Bender, who's injured? Anything there as far as like depth? We've talked about that a little bit. So
yeah, I think Bender is best centrally. I mean, we saw what he did his rookie year playing in midfield. Now a lot of that was still in a 4-4-2. It wasn't always in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. And we saw late in the season where he started being played out wide on the wing. He's injured coming off of, I believe, a minor surgery. He's missed training camp. So yeah. I'm not considering Bender in the depth chart at all until probably realistic June.
Yeah, he's going to be out for a while. Yeah.
Even if he's out for a month, like he's still going to have to get into trainings, build up that game fitness, fight and compete for those minutes. And I think they're going to be hard to come by unless we're really in dire straits on the wings, which we very well could be. On the wings, it's really a matter of Kerwin Vargas. We have to see the Kerwin Vargas we saw at the end of the year way more than what we've seen the first year and a half of him on the squad. He cannot go 4 goals every 70 shots. He needs to be going 4 goals every 25 shots. And so we saw that down the stretch. In the final games into the postseason, Vargas was proving to be what he needed to be. And I do think that in Dean Smith's system, where there's more freedom for the wingers and being told don't be afraid to pull the trigger and all those sorts of good things, he's going to get some opportunities. I think it's going to be a lot simpler for him, and his defensive responsibilities are going to be very different. So I think Karen Vargas is going to, we need him to come out of the gates and be a write it in pen starter for us. Other guys in the mix, we mentioned Brock Diagra. Whether or not he's played on the left or the right, that's what's great about Diagra, is he's very versatile. We can throw him in basically anywhere in the midfield, anywhere in a line of 3, out wide, either side. He is our technically most gifted player with Swiderski gone. I think that we're going to also be leaning on some youth. I'm really excited. My favorite player that was really underrated, I felt, last year from Crown Legacy is Yuri Tavares. This guy had 12 goals and 3 assists for Crown Legacy. Like, he ate it up and did not get the same sort of love and attention that Ajimong, Cambridge, Petkovic, Pareba, Mayaka, Pedro, like, everyone was hyping up everyone but Yuri Tavares. And the whole time I was watching it, and I'm like, that's the one guy out there outside of Ajimong. He's got MLS size and speed.
Well, so that's the thing. That's and kind of goes back to my whole point of, like, I hope people are not. I hope they don't freak out as much, because we have some really great talent coming to this team. Tavares is tall. He's fast. He's good with the ball at his feet. Kind of like Patrick. And people keep asking for Patrick. Like, everybody was excited about the Crown Legacy guys and wanting to see more of them. And then we're like, okay, here you go. This is how this whole process is supposed to work anyway. And now everybody's like, yeah, but no, I don't want that now. Like, it's kind of weird to me and frustrating. But Tavares is a perfect example of, like, he's going to be kind of like a wild card. I'm excited to see him again. Think about set pieces too. You have Patrick and him on the field at the same time. Good grief. It's a night. It would be a nightmare for me.
Well, and the other wild card we've got in there is Brian Romero and Nimfasha Berchimas. I don't think. I think the one that is going to find the first team first is going to be Brian Romero. We're in this pinch at winger. I wouldn't be shocked for there to be some spot minutes for Brian Romero. And he's undersized. He's still got some growing to do. But we've seen that doesn't so much matter. He's got the technical ability. He's got the nose for goal. He's got that, that extra little motor push. I wouldn't be shocked for Brian Romero to also be in this mix, and I don't think we should be discounting him.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talent coming up, and that's exactly how this is supposed to work. So I get that, we're freaking out a little bit. We need a winger. I get it. But, like, we have a lot of people coming up. Like, it's a lot of folks and good quality people too. But David, go ahead. I think you were going to say.
Well, I was just going to say that, like, that is the intention of what I guess we're trying to build, right? Because, excuse me, the new sporting director or technical director that we just brought in is from Philadelphia, which you just had Jose on the show talk about, right? They cultivate, identify talent, move up through the ranks, and bring them up into the squad. And I know the past 2.5 years, 3 years, we've had to rely on a lot of transfers because we were building a team from literally scratch with no academy, right? And now we're building an academy. We're getting the pieces in place. We spent a lot of money on legacy last year. Like, I know they didn't really release the transfer news or, roster spend on that kind of stuff, but just the quality of players that we had there, we spent money on that team with the intention of trying to identify talent and promote and move up. So I know it's not sexy news to be like, we've signed a guy from Crown Legacy after you just send off 2 of your DPs. So I get that frustration or that mental part of it. But from just conversation with both of you, like, we've got talent there that could potentially impact the team in a positive way moving into the new year.
Yeah. And you got Tiger Smalls.
You need to find ways to give them minutes. They need minutes. Yeah, Tiger Smalls. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I to your point, David, it's not sexy. It's not fun. And look, guys, like I know other team. I've heard this narrative that like, oh, all these teams are bolstering the squad. They're signing people. They're getting better. They're signing people. That doesn't mean that they're getting better. Go ask Toronto how they feel about their
Well,
key, two signings. Like just because you're signing people does not mean that you're getting better.
I mean, just ask us how we signed
Montreal.
Camille. Yeah. I mean, we
Yeah,
signed
I mean,
Camille
like,
as a player. Did that make us better?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I there's like this FOMO, like people, like we need to sign some people. They're coming, I promise. But like, just because other teams are signing people does not mean that they're going to get better. I keep hearing that. That's not true. Again, go ask Toronto. They signed 2 quote unquote world-class players and has done nothing for them. So,
and let's also be real about this team for a second. We are still a bubble team with, I was saying we were a high ceiling, low floor team where our ceiling is probably 4th in the conference. Our floor was like 10th, 11th. That's probably shifted now with the guys that have gone out. That until we make those additions, it's hard to give us a very high ceiling, and it's really easy to give us a lower floor. We're not a contender yet. We've got pieces that need to come in and fill out the roster in a smarter way to get to that point. That's what I was saying about these moves being a necessary evil. They've got to go out for us to be able to add in. But if you take a look at what St. Louis City did last year, nobody looked at that roster. And even if you look at that roster today, you do not look at that roster and say, they're going to win the West. That team is set up to win the West. No, if you have the right coach with the right system, with the players that are complementary to one another, that are put in positions to succeed, then you will yield results. And so that's why I'm not freaking out and the sky's not falling for me, is because I believe the players that we have, guys, I'm a fan of this team. Yeah, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, but I have trust and faith in the skills that I've seen of the players that are on the roster.
Well,
they just have to be moved around the chessboard the right way.
I said that if we had a different coach, we probably should have finished 5th or 6th with the squad that we have. Now we're bringing all these other players in. You do lose Swiderski. So to your point, Vaughn, we have to figure that where the goals are going to come. But I have a feeling Capetti's going to have a better year. Vargas is going to have a better year. Arfield's going to have a better year. Brecht is going to have a better year. Patrick Agamang is going to have a better year. So I think in these next 2 weeks, we get a few players in. I think the summer is where we really go and swing for the fences. I think you could do some stuff with the DP tags to get us to the summer. You can actually, Brecht could be a DP. You can move some things around and then move him off later. But I'm excited. I can understand why some people are a little apprehensive, but I'm hoping this like conversation will make people feel a little better. Like at least the front office, like fixing some wrongs, getting the roster into a good spot, getting people off the book, so then we can go out and get the people that we really want that will complement Dean Smith's coaching.
And there's a precedent for that within MLS too. Early years of Seattle Sounders under arguably the best GM in league history, Garth Lagerwey, that was exactly his model. It was start and see what we've got, assess where the holes are mid-season, and make a swing for the fences DP ad in the summer, in July, that is going to take my team to build momentum toward end of season, towards the playoffs, and carry that momentum right through into MLS final after MLS final after MLS final. He did that back-to-back years, adding Nico Lodero, followed by Raul Ruidiaz. 2 guys that became talismans for the club.
Yeah.
Like, there is a model out there that shows exactly how to do that. And supplementing that with guys that are coming from your academy, the Jordan Morrises, and drafting well, Christian Roldan, and making good backline signings that are international. Like there is a template. And are we to that template right now? No, I'm not professing that we are at that Seattle Sounders level, but I'm saying that we have the flexibility and the position to get to that point very rapidly. And we need to just make sure we also don't make rash decisions. That's how Jozwiak ended up here on an albatross contract, was us making, oh my God, we're so thin at wingers. We need to sign wingers. Do whatever we got to do to get a winger in here. Oh my God, we missed on Machis. We got to get somebody in to fill the spot. Learn from the lesson.
Yeah, you end up overpaying.
Get the right guy. Don't overpay.
Yeah.
Get the right guy at the right time. It's going to be okay. It's a long season. And like I said, a new coach. Do you mind if I do the parallel on the Columbus Crew?
Yeah, I was just about to. Hey, but before we do that, Dave, any other comments, questions coming in?
No, I mean we've had a few, and I've crossed them off because you kind of touched base on it.
Okay.
I will say before you do that, good old Rusty Varner says here, just talking about like starting 11. Do y'all think the best 11 has Capetti and Ajiman on the field together? And how do we get these two to play together and mesh in a way that Capetti and Swiderski could not?
I don't know if they'll be on the field at the same time. Vaughn, what are your thoughts? I don't think we run a formation where they would be on the field at the same time.
Yeah, I'm in that boat. I don't think we ultimately see that formation.
But I tell you what, Dean Smith, everything he has said, and what I'm hearing, he absolutely adores Patrick Agamane. So it's pretty good news there. But Vaughn, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to make sure we were
no problem.
Asking. Yeah, go ahead.
The parallels I want to draw are to the 2022 Columbus Crew. The 2022 Columbus Crew finished with 46 points. We finished with 43. They led MLS with dropped points from a winning position. They had 24 drop points from a winning position. Last year, we had 25. Sound kind of in the same ballpark, right? They finished 8th and missed the playoffs. We finished 9th. We made the play-in game. Same level within the league. I told you, Lucas Zelarian in 2022 had 10 goals, 7 assists. Karol Swiderski last year had 12 goals, 5 assists. 17 goal contributions from your top player. At the end of the season, they fired Caleb Porter. We fired Christian Latanzio. They brought in a coach. They brought in Wilfried Dante, a system coach, a guy that was to change the attitude and set guys up for success. And then we brought in Dean Smith. The MLS Next Pro side, the Columbus Crew in 2022, they ended up first in their conference. They went on. They were the regular season points champion. They did go on and win MLS Next Pro championship.
Mm-hmm.
Crown Legacy in their year were first in the conference in MLS Next Pro, first in the regular season, tied with Colorado. They didn't win the championship, but they were a top MLS Next Pro side.
Yeah.
And then this next season in 2023, what did Columbus Crew do? They supplemented their roster with guys from that MLS Next Pro side, guys like Mo Farsi, Patrick Schulte, Sean Zawadzki, Jason Russell-Rowe. These are not big names. They supplemented the roster with guys that were developed within their team, elevated them to the first team, found minutes for them, and then ultimately they went on, finished, I think it was 5th in the conference. You know how many points they improved year to year? 11. So those 24 drop points, Wilfried Nance came in and improved them by 11 points. That's what we're talking about for our team. There is no reason that Dean Smith can't come in, simplify things, make these summer additions, make it so that we're not as defensively susceptible, make it so we play compact, make it so that we create chances through our system and improve 10 to 11 points. There is no reason we can't have that same trajectory. Supplementing our roster with the Patrick Ajimangs and the Nikola Petkoviches and the Yuri Tavareses, the Brandon Cambridges, there is no reason that can't happen. And I'm not saying that we're the Columbus Crew. Like on paper, the Columbus Crew are a much better team. They've got a Darlington Nagbe. They've got, they brought in Julian Gressel. They have Cucho Hernandez, who's eating it up. But do I think that Enzo Capetti can be a Cucho Hernandez? Heck yeah. Do I think a Breck Diagra with a full season can match Zelarian numbers of 10 goals, 7 assists? Yeah, I think he can get in that ballpark. Do I believe that Yuri Tavares can come in or Patrick Agyemang can come in and play as well as Mo Farsi? Absolutely. So we're not that far away. The margins are so slim in this league. And if we're making those additions with all of the salary cap space, we can absolutely have the same trajectory that the Columbus Crew had last year. And if you build that momentum and you hit right and you go from being a 43-point team to being a 55-point team, you can compete for an MLS Cup championship.
All right, I'm gonna go run through the brick wall because Vaughn just pumped me up. So I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go do that real quick. So, but I mean, yeah, even Jake said it. Look, Vaughn is pumping it up, man. That's right, Jake's. I mean, where Vaughn, you just turned me into a believer, sir. MLS Cup 2024.
I think it's. Go ahead, Vaughn. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just. I'm just saying we have to understand that in MLS, this is not like the Bundesliga or Premier League. The margins are slim. The magic that has to happen is not a lot. They literally went from Caleb Porter to Wilfred Nancy and changed the vibes of the locker room, supplemented the roster. You know, they got rid of Zelarayan. They got rid of that top DP. They brought in Diego Rossi. Diego Rossi struggled initially, and he started getting real hot down the stretch. But like, I think his end goal output was like 3 goals, 3 assists in the regular season. Diego Rossi. And then in the playoffs, I think he had 2 goals, 3 assists. He had a great playoffs. But that's also playing all the way through MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Right? So do I believe that our roster as of today can get us by until April when we add a winger or two, add a center back or two, get some additional depth, and then we also add then in the summer a DP, a young designated player, maybe a U22? Yeah. The sky is still very high for us. It's not falling.
Yeah.
And I think we need to recognize that, like, yeah, teams are improving around us. We're okay. We're okay.
Yeah, I still think it's too soon for me to say that teams are actually improving. They're signing folks, but I want to see what they actually do with it. But and again, we're going to bolster the squad before the window closes. And then in the summer, yeah, we have flexibility there to sign some big players. And I know people don't want to punt to the summer, and people get freaked out like, oh my God, we're going to start and all that stuff. Who says that? Like last year we dealt with a player dying, right? That's how we started the year off. So again, and MLS is a long season, and it's actually a tale of 2 different seasons, right? If you can get to the summer and bolster your squad, you have a really good chance of getting into the playoffs. So I'm excited. I know other people are not. I know, like, social media, a lot of people are complaining. They're freaking out. I just wish people would take a step back, be critical, ask questions, but like the venom that I'm seeing is and the complaining is what I'm really over it at this point. But I'm excited.
We're getting blown out 3 goals every single game. Then we can start. Let's dig into why we're losing by 3 or 4 goals every game.
Yeah, exactly. Gusler, anything to add?
No, I mean, I'm looking at some of the comments. There's some good questions here, but we can come back to a few of them because
go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and answer some.
Here's a nice little interlude right here. You ready for this one? Well, once again, Matt Swift's hair is suave as always. Well done.
Thanks.
Well done, sir.
So appreciate that.
Cole's commenting on Matt Swift's fun hair.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So no, I think we got that, and then Jay's got another question here for you, Vaughn, and just like a little bit, I guess, thinking through just like some of the summer window and those kind of things and the moves that we could potentially make. So come Leagues Cup, so that summertime window, late July window that we have, who do you think is our starting midfield at that point? And then do you think we make a change at right back? Is it going to be Jalen? Is it going to be like, who do you think is going to be there?
Yeah.
No idea.
Why can't you're Von Schnamas, sir? You can't tell the future. Like, I mean, come on, I'm just joking.
I think it's a good opportunity as we get into like the League Cup stuff. Is like Bender would be back, and I think that's a perfect time for him to get back into the squad and get some minutes. And Pekovic is another one. Like, give him a shot, give him some run out, especially in the early rounds and stuff like that. So, yeah. some folks that don't get a lot of minutes, get them in there. But it'd be interesting to see though when we get there, like how serious we take the tournament, and especially after the group stage. I would imagine it would probably be our full force that we mentioned earlier. But yeah, maybe a game or two there we get some folks that don't get a lot of minutes.
So I got two questions here. I guess now I can kind of segue to these, and then we can kind of talk about. I like to talk about the vibes that we're seeing on social and the team and everything like that. But the first one here is from Westwood T Gang. So why do we think Zoran is kind of slow with his transfer dealing? So this is 3 out of 4 windows now where we're kind of left until the last minute. For an agent, what do you guys think? Is it intentional? Is it something that they're trying to work on? Like, what do you think that is?
Was it late in the window or was it early? Right? Like Arfield, Diagara, and Urinen were signed to acclimate and to be impactful immediately. They were impactful in starting. They filled holes on the roster, but they were brought in to be starters this year.
Yeah.
Like we made 3 additions to our starting lineup and elevated the club and made the team better for impact this year and beyond. So it's a matter of perspective. And yeah, we've had some that have been late in windows, but then those guys come in and have been impactful. We've made
like
MLS trades that have been added as well, right? Derek Jones, I think. We had Andre Shinyashiki, Justin Merrim. These are guys that were brought in after the start of the season started. Even
we signed Daniel Rios the day before we played our first inaugural game.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But like those guys stepped in and ultimately found minutes and were impactful. It's never the time is relative. Quite frankly, it really is. Yeah, I'd love to have these guys signed January 1st. I'd love to have moved Karol Swiderski not on the last day of the transfer window. But you also are talking about these teams and these agents and these moving pieces. You're asking these guys to execute multiple multi-million-dollar deals at a drop of a hat and like in perfect synchronicity to one another. Mm-hmm. You want Karol Swiderski to go for a upwards of $7 million move to Italy, while you're also at the same time bringing in potentially a $10 million guy from Sweden, and to pull it off like clockwork.
Same day. Like FIFA. Or
EA.
Well,
it's just not how it works.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it's not at all.
I think also, and I'll share even just from my because I've grown in soccer fandom the past 3 or 4 years, and I'm not saying that this is Westwood or Matt Chantry's thought process. I know he's grown up in the game in England, etc.
Wait, but Westwood T game is Matt Chantry. I'm just kidding.
No, I know. But I almost think sometimes maybe it's the Americanized fans a little bit, where they hear preseason and they hear kind of right before the season kickoff, and I'm generalizing here, so it could just be totally off base, but they almost think that the roster has to be complete before the very first game, because that's what happens in NFL. That's what usually happens in MLB. Like that's what usually happens in NBA. Yeah, you have trades that happen later in the season, but that's usually not like roster shifting, breaking trades. It's usually small little pieces here and there, or a piece that's going to take you over the edge. But usually before that first game, you have your roster built the way that you usually have your roster built towards the end of the season, injuries withstanding. So I'm wondering if some of the frustration on social media, or even, I don't want to say casuals, but like some of the fans could just be assuming that, hey, this is how we assume that's going to happen, versus having 2 windows, being able to do interleague trades, etc. from that point of view. Awesome. So perfect segue, right? So yeah, no. So I go ahead, Swift.
I think there's a little bit of that. I also think, to kind of Vaughn's point, people are not stopping. I think there's a lot of emotions involved, and so they see other teams signing folks. We're losing folks, so they think we're just not doing anything. Again, I go back to the Crown Legacy folks moving up. They don't want to look at that, and they're like, oh, we're signing a bunch of kids. I'm like, no, these guys are in their 20s. They're professionals. They're really good. I think there's just this impatience that comes with this. And like, And
Well,
and
on
again, like
social, they also get shit because they signed 30-something-year-old midfielders. But then when we sign 20-something-year-old wingers from Crown Legacy, it's like, oh, how, you can't win.
That's the thing. You can't win, and the complaining is what's getting to me. And again, you could be critical, you could question, but the F the front office and Zoran's a moron. He doesn't know this. I'm sorry, I can't believe anything you're saying because you don't know the roster rules and you don't know the deals. Like when the whole Swiderski thing with the loan thing, like people are like, we're not getting anything, and this is the dumbest thing ever. And Zoran's a moron. I'm like, I'm sorry, did you structure the deal? Do you know the details of the deal? No, like just let this play out, let things happen, and you'll see what's going on. Like the Coachella thing, like people freaking out, like, oh my God, this tournament, now we're not going to be able to watch the team. I'm like, if you'll just wait like a day or two, they'll stream it. Like they'll come out and stream it. So I think people just need to be a little more patient.
Well, and here's the other reality, guys, is it's an entertainment business. We just want to see competitive soccer. We want to see something that's attractive. It's pretty on the eyes. We see beautiful goals. We see a team that has heart and energy and that they, outperform, we have expectations and they outshoot those expectations. Yeah. That's very possible for this team. Like, that's what I'm excited about is like the vibes and the energy that this is not just from what I'm seeing on socials. This is from what I'm hearing, what's happening behind the closed doors.
Yeah.
There is a different vibe and a different energy and a different air about the club. And I think the players are going to respond to that. And I think the fans, if you give it a chance and let it happen, you'll see that magic come to the surface. And that's really all that matters at the end of the day is, great, Dean Smith gets the guys he's got at his disposal out there. Can they compete in MLS? Can they go and elevate and be quality? And we're going to find out in 18 days' time where we're at. Our measuring stick is going to be there.
Yeah. And just keep in mind, like our front office hasn't like forgot to hit submit now on a deal, like Orlando did. Just going to throw.
Yeah, and I mean to hit save instead of hitting submit. Yeah.
And I want to add that too.
I had like heart palpitations just reading it, like, and I tweeted this out. Like I've done that with DoorDash. Like I've got some food, got it ready, and like thought I hit send. I'm sitting there like an hour later. I'm like, where the hell is my food? And like I opened the thing and I just didn't hit send. I can't imagine like me being responsible for a player transfer and I hit save, but never sent the thing through. And you just basically cost this player moving to another team, and you're responsible for like people's life. Oh my God. I feel horrible. So at least we didn't do that.
Well, and actually we've done something even better. And this is something I wish I wouldn't have brought up 120 minutes into the episode, but it is absolutely massive that Karol Swiderski and Kamil Jozwiak went to top 5 leagues. We had Karol Swiderski brought in from the Greek league. He came to MLS. We moved him to Serie A.
Mm-hmm.
We had Kamil Jozwiak brought in from an English championship, played in MLS, had a spotty time here, and still got off to La Liga.
Yeah.
This is a selling point for our club, that we can go to players, incoming players, DPs and otherwise, and say, hey, guys, we will develop you. We will get you to good clubs that are in the top 5. And when I say top 5, that's EPL, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, and Liga. That we are already establishing those pipelines and those relationships and are making those deals happen for those players. Karol Swiderski says, I want to get back to Europe and I want to be in a top 5 league. And we made that happen for him. He had to perform, but ultimately we made that happen for him on his timeline, largely.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes to the recruitment side of things. And that's something we should not lose sight of.
Yeah. agents and players talk a lot too. So they're gonna, when you do right by a coach leaving, you don't throw them under the bus, and players too. Even if they don't leave on the best of terms, I'm thinking Nuno and Andre, and maybe even some others. Like you never throw people under the bus. You do right by them, and if you do that, you get a really good reputation. So I mean, that's again, like it kind of goes back to like this venom I'm seeing like towards the front office and the name calling and stuff like that. I just really don't understand, because of like, we do things like that. We've made these roster moves now. We've developed Crown Legacy and invested in that. And they have messed up. They have chosen poorly player wise. And I think they've listened to two coaches that kind of got them in trouble. But I think overall, I think this is a smart front office that doesn't quite get the credit. And it tends to seem like they only get the negative. So they're not without fault, but I think they do a lot of things that are good.
Can we bring up the Juan Argueda grace period comment? Because I just want to speak to that. Grace period is over for the fans, and the fans aren't getting the product they are charging us for. 100% agree.
Yeah.
100% agree. Other teams in MLS have won titles by season 2 and season 3 in their existence.
Yeah.
The club has made mistakes. The club has come up short, and the team needs to start winning. The team needs to start showing actual progress and showing the fans, hey, we're going to be a winner. I'm telling you, I see us going and pursuing Albert Groenbeck for $10 million. That is not normal in MLS. That is a progressive step for this organization. They didn't seal the deal. They failed. What are they going to do? Are they still going to end up signing that guy? They've now sold their $5 million player, allegedly for profit, in Karol Swiderski. Are they going to replace him, and are they going to upgrade from Karol Swiderski? Because it's got to be an upgrade. It can't be a step backwards. It can't be a lateral move. Kamil Jozwiak, $2 million signed, failed, absolute failed DP. Are they going to learn from that and make an improvement from there? Vinicius Mello was a burned U22 spot. Are we going to sign a U22 that actually plays a single minute for the club? Nikola Pekovic, we signed a U22 level player for $3 million and have him playing at Crown Legacy. And you got Colorado Rapids over here signing a $3 million Georgi Mihailovic. Mm-hmm. We signed Petkovic for the same money as Georgi Mihailovic. So are we going to get that outcome? Yeah, I totally agree with you, Juan. We've got to see progress, and we've got to be going to that next level of being an every year contender in this league.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe we can do that right now.
Yeah. We've said on the show, like, this is Zoran's like last, for me anyway, I don't want to speak for David. This, for me, it's like, put up or shut up. You've made mistakes. You should have learned from them. Time to make things right. I think this is the last year. If you don't get it right this year, unfortunately, you got to go. If I'm running a business, that's what I would do. I like Zoran personally. I think he does some good things, but yeah, like to your comment, like, yeah, people are tired. I mean, I'm tired. I want to win. I think last year was a failure. Ninth is not good enough. We should have finished at least 5th. So I was disappointed to get into the playoffs. I don't hate that we got into the playoffs, but I think it just sucks. The whole 9th thing just 8th and 9th bothers me. But
well, it was how we looked against New York Red Bulls. We got embarrassed.
Yeah, I mean, we have to make progress this year, and yeah, people are paying a lot of money, paying PSLs. We need to see the results. Any other questions, David? Comments that coming through?
Yeah. So again, just to go back to starting 11 a little bit here, and I'll do a Zoran question after this. So this one comes from Rusty again. So who's more likely to bounce back season this year? You think it's Cappetti or Tuolima? So Swift, I'll let you go first, then Vaughn.
God, poor Bill had such a horrible season. We've seen what he could do when he was signed from Portland. I was really excited. So I think it's a fresh start for him. He's kind of a season removed from having to replace a player that passed away. I think he's, kind of integrated into the team more. I'm hoping for better things from him, but I think ultimately this is Capetti's team now. This is his time to shine. His English has gotten better. Like I said, his attitude, from what I'm hearing in training and everything, he's a lot happier guy. So sky's the limit for him. I hope he kills it, because I've been super critical of him, but I hope he absolutely kills it this year.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me, Copetti. I've talked about why I think he's going to take a step in the right direction. I think he's got to be set up for success. I think he needs to be fed from midfield. I think Dean Smith's system is going to do that. I think that he's acclimated. I think that we've already seen, the social post that was him and Diagra, where Diagra was on his shoulders in the pool and they're commenting back and forth. You're my number 9. You're my number 10. Like, guys, Karol Swiderski was never going to be on Enzo Capetti's shoulders in the pool. Like, there's a connection there. There is different vibes and different energy. And I think that there's a lot of trust happening inside that locker room. And I think Copetti is going to pay dividends on that. I will put money down that he will outscore the 12-goal threshold that is our single season record. I think Enzo Copetti, I put him down for 15 plus.
Yeah, Vaughn, you've been pretty big on Copetti on the show before. Like, why do you think he can score that many? Like, what type of player is he that maybe we didn't get to see? Because, we've been pretty critical. Some of his game I don't like or didn't like last season, but make us a believer. Why should we be excited for what he could actually do?
I just said earlier in the episode how he had no service from midfield, right? No assist from midfield. That there's not a striker in the league that is going to become a 15 to 20 goal scorer in this league if they're not getting service from midfield. I see him making the aggressive runs. I see him acclimating and learning the league. And we talked about, if he had those PKs that Karol Swiderski had, Enzo Copetti would have been at probably 9 or 10 goals. So if Enzo Copetti was at 9 or 10 goals, that was with him acclimating, that was with him having injuries, that was with him having a system that wasn't supporting him. And now also they're going to be making these signings to try and play ideally to his strengths, right? So they're going to be trying to get complementary pieces to his playing style.
So speak to that a little bit. So are we saying that, because I've been wanting to play through the channels more in the middle, right, instead of crossing in and praying like we've done. But what does the midfield need to do? Is it launching the ball forward? Is it playing through the channel so he can run on? What's his strong suits?
I think it's the hot words we've already seen coming out of camp, right? It's that you're going to have guys that are playing progressive balls, trying to break lines and to try and create a connection from midfield into the attacking line. Yeah. Whether that is Enzo Copetti or it's Patrick Agyemang. And your outside backs, you're not going to have the same type of inverted fullbacks. I think your fullbacks are going to be doing more traditional overlaps. Jere Urenin and Nathan Byrne and Jalen Lindsay, those guys are going to be playing that role in a more traditional way, I expect. But there's a lot more freedom of movement. There's a lot more. Our system and style is not going to be 100% set on possession. It's what we do when we have possession. But I think, and this was one of my things I'm looking for heading into the season. Are we creating more chances in attack? We've got to create more goal-creating actions. GCA. Look for GCA. Are we staying compact and preventing easy opportunities? Well, that staying compact is also matching what the team's talked about of being a counter-pressing team. Counter-pressing means when you lose the ball, you go and press, win the ball back, and spring a quick transition the other direction. And you're trying to ultimately get chances in the box before a defense gets set. This is what Latanzio's system really sucked at, was because we maintained possession, but by maintaining possession, if you had more than 5 passes, the other team has time to recover, get their defensive shape established, and those channels and passing lanes are closed. The only way you're getting the ball into the box is to go wide and hit it over the top, or you're relying on a player to have a moment of brilliance. Yeah. We're talking about getting guys that play direct. They want us to play quick, direct, meaning dribble the ball and go at guys and win 1v1s and be progressive towards goal. This is all stuff that is going to create a funnel of play and action into the box and in towards Capetti, who I think was doing a lot of good off-ball work and making aggressive runs and occupying center backs. And he learned by the end of the season to not be going down as easily. I think he's going to earn, as the year goes on, more of those calls because he's going to be changing the way he has to play that position. So are we effective in transition moments? That's both transition to defense and transition to offense. The counter pressing is a transition to offense. If you're successful in the counter press, you're going to get that transition to offense. But transition to the defense is the same. You give the ball away. How do you recover? Are you successful in the counter press, or are you in retreat defense? And how do you get set, and how do you manage those moments? I think we're going to be better suited for those moments. And is the midfield going to be getting the ball into the attack? Period. End of story. Does Diagara and Arfield and Bronico and Pekovic and Westwood didn't have any connection. We saw Westwood got signed, and all of the videos were about Westwood being able to find these outlet balls, right. Enzo Capetti, and it didn't happen. So I believe in Enzo Capetti from all the game film that I've watched of his time at Roston Club, that his skill set can be effective in MLS. He needs complementary pieces around him to show that. And I believe that we are taking very good steps towards that.
Yeah. Oh, look at Zach's photo. I'm a big fan of all the photos. Look at this. Look at this.
We should just do a segment in the future of just people putting comments in there so we can show their profile pictures.
What's so funny is the people that are going to be listening to this on the actual podcast are like, what the hell?
It's not going to be a good podcast episode if we do that, but it's okay. But what Zach said, for those who are listening and not watching, is one positive of Enzo Capetti is that he will not be gone on international duty, which we did see a decent amount with Carol, right? So that is definitely a plus for the future of the club.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? This is good stuff.
Yeah. Do you want me to just go right into Q&A and kind of tee this up, or what are you thinking?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
We'll go long on this episode.
So first question we've got here, and we'll do the serious ones and some fun ones after that. So Jake wants to know, is it in Zoran's DNA to pivot to MLS talent more so than relying solely on international? So what do you guys think from that perspective? So Vaughn first, and then you, Swift.
No. we still have 13 international slots. Some of that is also, I think we've been slow to get green cards for players compared to other teams in the league. I am under the impression that some of those things are in motion right now, but that's another spot that we have not helped ourselves in spending money on international spots and not securing green cards in a timely manner. That is a competitive disadvantage for us right now. And Zoran has made some good trades. I think we've brought in some good MLS talents over time between Daniel Rios, Justin Merrim. Andre Shinyashiki was impactful in a good way initially. But we've also had some of our misses. You know, we've had the Reynas that have come in, the Moras that didn't work out. We've had the, Jalen that is in and out of the lineup. And I love Jalen. We've got Bill Tuiloma that has a large commitment of GAM to be able to get him. So do I think that we've leaned on domestic talent? Absolutely not. Do I think it's in Zoran's DNA, as you asked? No, I don't think it's his natural inclination. But it doesn't mean he can't change.
Yep. One of the early moves that we made is Mark Nichols. He left the team, and I like Mark, and clearly he went to the Columbus Crew, who we keep talking about in this episode. Yeah, I agree with Vaughn. Like I would like for us to have a little more MLS experience on this team. But again, I'm looking at this year as Zoran's kind of like make or break, and I'm hoping and optimistic that he'll learn from some of these mistakes and move forward. What else we got, Gusler?
Awesome. So this next question, just staying on the Zoran roster buildings, we had quite a bit on this one, again from Jake here. So playing devil's advocate, and this goes back to like time and positivity and stuff like that, but it's hard not to compare to what you see other front offices doing. When do we leave the quote expansion team Charlotte FC label behind and have similar expectations to the big boys across the league? So Swift, what do you think first?
No, that's a fair question because, you look at Atlanta in their second year, you look at St. Louis in their first year, but I think it's all about building a solid team back to Columbus Crew. They're a solid team, not just one person or two people. So I think early on, like, we listened to our first coach too much, got the players that they wanted. Even Latanzio, there were a couple of players that he wanted to keep in this roster. I think the front office, where they really made some mistakes, is listening to these coaches and not sticking with what they wanted and what they thought. So yeah, I could see, looking at other teams and be like, hey, they're able to do it. Why not us? So this whole episode has been like, hey, we've made mistakes, but I think we're fixing them now. So I don't want to have this roller coaster of like, we're good one year, we're shit the next. Like, I want that Columbus Crew. I want the Seattle Sounders blueprint where every single year we're solid, we're in the playoffs, we have a shot. That's what I'm wanting to build. So I think we're a little slower to get there, but I think we're getting to that.
Yeah, and to me, the question of expansion team tag, it's gone, absolutely gone. Yeah. But I said, where are we at? If you take a look at our points that we acquired in our first two seasons, it is dead even with Orlando City. It's much better. There's about 8 or 9 teams that in those first two seasons had far worse outcomes than Charlotte FC did. Like, we outperformed a lot of those teams. We didn't go and win championships. No, we didn't set the standard, but that's the expectation now. For me, yeah, we're competing with every single team in the league. We should be up in the upper echelon of the league. Yeah. We've got to make signings to make that happen. We just cleared the slate to be able to get closer to that point.
Yeah.
We effed up. There's mistakes that have happened. We've got to make changes. Those changes are occurring. And I said, the expectation, championships, year-on-year progress. I would love for us to be the Philadelphia Union. But the Philadelphia Union, they haven't won their MLS Cup. They've been around since 2010. They're 14 years in. They haven't won an MLS Cup. But has it been good? Has it been a good ride? Have they played good soccer? Is it a team that other teams look to and are inspired by and want to emulate and be like them? Have they won supporter shields? Have they made deep playoff runs? Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. The metric needs to be entertainment and being a good quality soccer team. Yeah. Year in and year out, and growing and being a team that other teams look up to. We are doing a lot right at the academy level. We're doing a lot right at the MLS Next Pro level. We have solid foundations. Those foundations are set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Framing is done.
That's
like we got to start living in the house.
That's the big thing. I don't think people fully understand what we're doing at the academy level and Pipeline MLS Next Pro. I don't think people really fully understand just how important that's going to be for our future and how great we've already done. Legacy has been fantastic. Huge success. I mean, we're already getting, we had players last year and we're going to have more this year. So I'm excited in that regard. We're doing a lot of good things that I don't think people really want to talk about. It's more so the negative, but it is what it is.
Well, and also on the spend side, we're talking about the Colorado Rapids. Colorado Rapids have been around since 1996. They just made their record signing in Georgi Mihailovic for $3 million. Like, we have had designated players filling out the roster, not always good hits, but we have spent $3 million on Pekovic, $5 million on Swiderski, $6 million on Copetti. We've been linked to other guys that we've been talked about spending upwards of $10+ million. And that's my expectation. Yeah, we're playing in an NFL stadium and second in the league in seats sold. We need to be spending and reinvesting that money back into the club.
Yeah.
Keep pushing Tepper and the front office to be doing that. And they're not going to be afraid to. They're going to be spending that money. And if you consistently do that and you scout well, you have a scouting team. The LA Galaxy until 2 years ago had no scouts on staff. We have an entire scouting department. Okay? Like there's many ways to build a team, and we're competing with 30 or a bunch of other teams. 29 other teams.
That's crazy that the Galaxy didn't have that. Like that's
Yeah.
How do they identify such a talent as David Beckham, sir? How do they do that? I'm just trying.
but the point being is like it will eventually pay dividends. We're not going to win a championship every single year. We need to be competing for them. We haven't in the first 2 years. And have we maybe taken a step backwards? Yeah, it's possible we took a step backwards. But I think we are in a position where we can take a big step forward still this year.
Yeah.
So just as a quick, well, I guess this may be too early to tell, but I'm going to pull up Wesley's question here. Where do you finish? Where do we finish in the season? Because like it is super early. We haven't even played preseason yet, really. Well, I guess we have, but we have a game tomorrow for the Coachella Invitational. But where do you guys feel like where do we end? Vaughn, you get to go first this time.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's next to impossible to say because so much is going to change. The East, and to be fair, the East is loaded right now. That's the other thing is like the teams we're competing with. You got FC Cincinnati, who just won Supporters Shield and are pretty darn stacked. They've done a lot of work to build that roster out over the past 3 years, 2 to 3 years. Columbus Crew won MLS Cup. Atlanta, I think, is currently still ahead of us. Philadelphia, I was talking about how exciting Philadelphia is. Miami, I don't know if they're going to end up winning, but like they're pretty loaded. It's hard to say anything against
I hope
Messi,
they crash and
Busquets,
burn.
Alba, and Suarez. Like they are stacked. So those are 5 teams right off the top that are probably, and Orlando. There's a lot to like about Orlando right now. So like there's 6 or 7 teams that are really easy to put in the upper echelon of the East. So I think realistically, I think our ceiling is about 6th right now. And I think our floor is probably 10th.
Yeah.
What about you, Swift?
I think 5th or 6th, because I thought that's what we should have done last year. If we finish below that, I'll be pretty disappointed, honestly, because it's the 3rd year. You've got to make progress. I mean, you just do. And I get that. Yeah, the East is pretty stacked, but you're in your 3rd year. I mean, you've got to do something. So that's kind of where I'm looking at. I don't think we're in the top 3, 4 quite yet, but I'm looking 5, 6. If we're playing attractive soccer and we finish like 7th, and we may play, I'm good. 8th or 9th, failure. I don't like it. Like, no.
I want us to break 50 points. I think that's probably the better metric even right now is, okay, we had 42 points. We had 43 points. I need to see marked progress. 50 points is that line that should be, it will be a successful year. And I think we will have played good soccer and we will be in a good position heading into the playoffs if we're breaking that 50-point line. Do I think we can improve 7 to 10 points? Yeah, I think we can win 2 more games and get 1 more draw than last year. And that doesn't sound like much, right?
No, not at all. Considering how many draws we had. David, What about you? What do you think we're gonna win?
Well, I'm gonna sit here and because Fawn made me want to run through a brick wall earlier, and I just have crazy predictions like my first goal ever, Christian Fuchs off a corner volley, kind of predictions. I'm gonna say we finish 2nd in the East. Just putting it into the universe, good vibes. Gonna finish 2nd. So
2nd. We're gonna go on a run after the summer.
We're gonna go on a run. No, we're gonna go on the run now. We're gonna go on the run now with like no DPs except for Enzo Capetti. That's what I'm putting that into the universe.
Yeah. Tiger Smalls and Tavares is gonna light it up.
All of a sudden, everyone's gonna start talking about how good our scouting department is, identifying talent, academy, and
I'm gonna tell you, like Patrick Agamang and Malanda, teams are gonna come calling for them. So I think we should really appreciate what we have. So and then I don't know how long they're going to be around.
We're gonna be 2nd. Everyone's gonna be chanting Dino, Arf, arf, arf. It's gonna be good. We're speaking into existence. So, so you guys ready for some fun questions? You want some goofy, fun questions here? So
Yeah, let's do it. This is a long episode. I like it.
It is. It's always a long episode with Vaughn.
It
It's
doesn't
good.
seem that long though. I was looking at the time. I was
No.
like, oh my god.
I told you I'd be on some soapboxes. Sorry.
No, it's good. This is I've had some bourbon. I'm feeling good. This is good. This is good for me. I always love when Vaughn comes
So
in.
I have to ask this question from Jake, and I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but has Swift seen the sloth yet? And has he gotten any sleep? So what is this talking about?
All right. So yeah, you weren't on last episode, and Roy, who always asked the most hilarious questions, asked, would I rather have an immortal, murderous sloth always slowly stalking me, or always have to wear ill-fitting clothes the rest of my life? And so so that's what he's asking, is that I can't imagine like just living your life and like having this sloth that is just slowly, you don't know where they are at any given time, like coming to kill you. But he's slow, so you think you've got Tom, but you never know. And we're talking about like, well, if he moved overseas, how would he get across water? And like, but he's still coming, and he's immortal. So that's where that comes from.
So I need to go back and listen to that episode. What you're telling me, I had a very busy
Yeah.
week for work, so I did not get a chance to listen to it. And
Gotta look over
Corey,
my
our
shoulder, make sure
Corey, our producer, called me out in the chat right now and just said that, you know, I obviously don't listen to the last episode. Casey says I try to forget that question. Now I won't sleep for a week, so that's good.
just slowly coming at you.
Yeah. So okay, now it makes sense. So so this next question comes from Jay. So question of the night for all the panelists: new kit. Assuming we're all going to get it.
Ooh.
Yeah, you're going to get it. So first, I'm going to say yes.
No, I don't. I usually don't get kits.
No, I know you don't. But like, I know last year, and I still don't own it. The purple kit, you know, it's fine. But like,
you hate it. Let's just be honest. You hated the purple kit.
No, I didn't hate it. It was just nothing.
Oh, you're a big fat fibber. You are a huge liar.
Maybe I am.
All right.
It's okay.
All right.
But,
so
yeah.
all right. This new one. Who
So
I would get. David. Who are you gonna get?
So I'm torn between two players because I've already got Brandt. I either want Ashley Westwood, Scott Arfield, one of the two. Those are my two for this season. But we'll see. So how about you, Vaughn?
The only customized jersey I even walk around in right now is Patrick Mahomes. So I'm not going to be customizing. I'm not going to be customizing my soccer jerseys. I haven't done it. So I keep them plain Jane. So yeah, that's my answer for that one.
You just need to get Von Stranamus on the back of one of them. Just do that.
There you go.
It's not about
right. I know.
I'm gonna.
How about you?
I need to get Westwood on my purple one. I meant to do that. I need to do that, and then for the new one, I think I'm gonna go with Yuri. I'm a huge fan, so I think that's what I'm gonna do.
I just liked his face in that one photo from social media. I think that he was like in the background with the team photo, and Yuri's just sitting there like, you know, stonewalled face. So everyone's smiling. It's great. So, again, I just did a face on a podcast, so not many people are going to be able to see that unless they watch the show. But it's okay.
You guys got to start tuning in to YouTube, man.
I know. So thanks, Jay, for the question on that one here. So another fun-ish question. Let's see here. We'll do Jay Landskroner's question. So which, quote, now former CLTFC players will have the most success? So Hagart, Yos, Mello, Swiderski, Mora, Corujo, Gaines, etc. So who do you guys think will have the most success? I know who I selfishly want to have the most success, but I'd love for you to who you think actually will. So Vaughn, who do you think?
Internationally, I think it's Swiderski, no doubt about it. I think he's the one that is going to get minutes in a top flight league. I mean, he already was getting minutes for Hellas Verona as the target striker, back playing the number 9. So I think he's definitely going to be the one that's still getting onto score sheets and scoring goals. This coming year, though, it looks like Gaines is going to get a real run at Nashville. He's already done some good things in preseason, it looks like, for Nashville. Gary Smith seems to like him as a weapon. And so same thing. I think he's going to be set up for success. And I think you're going to see some highlights that Gaines ends up on.
Yeah, Gaines for me. I just have a kind of a little tie with him anyway, since I announced him and chatted with him some. So honestly, I'm kind of pulling for him in a way, except for when they play us, of course. So I'm gonna say Gaines. I really hope Hagart does well, man. I'm glad he's under Bob Bradley and in Norway. I like Norway, so I wish him best luck too. So
Well, and actually, I'll throw another one out there that wasn't on the list, which is Derek Jones. Wilfred Nancy seems pretty pumped to have Jones on the roster, so I think that he's also going to be a little secret weapon for the crew.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, selfishly, I want Karol to be the most successful this season because that means we get to sell him and that he is doing well and we get to benefit off that. But I honestly think I want Gaines to do well. I think Derek Jones is going to have a good year, personally speaking, but we'll see. So I don't want to say like goofy questions, but this one's from Westwood T Gang. Speaking of like the home opener, etc., if nothing else, we can finally win a home opening game for once, especially with the upper deck opened and having 60-something thousand people there. God, we need it. Westwood T Gang needs it. We all need it. Just pump it right into my veins, please. We need to score a goal and win a game with it's like all the casuals are in the stadium. How amazing would that be?
Yeah.
We need a win in our first 3 games. We need to not start 0-3.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, selfishly from the table. Remember, we're going to finish second in the East, man. So we're going to go on a run without any DPs. But yeah, I hope we win at home. So Vaughn, Swift, do you guys think we actually have a chance to win the home opener this year?
I do. Yeah, for sure. And we need it. It'd be good for the city. The city has not had good sports luck. So yeah, it's to have that experience, that volume of the fans screaming. We need it. We deserve it. So the fans deserve it, I should say.
Yeah. NYCFC, they had a really hit or miss attack last year. They've made a lot of additions this offseason, but same thing. Are those guys going to acclimate? Are they going to be, firing on all cylinders right out of the gate? Personally, I don't believe or trust that NYCFC is going to take that step in the East. I think Nick Cushing is one of those guys that could very quickly end up on the hot seat if they have a slow start. So I think there's an opportunity for us to take it to NYCFC.
Yeah. Is this the longest episode ever?
No, not quite. Not quite. I think we hit over 2 hours at one point.
Was Vaughn on last time we did that too?
I think it was Vaughn, and I think the other one was Eric Krakauer.
I think we made hours.
I think episode 100 we did it. I think
that's right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah.
So to celebrate, you got to go back and listen if we break the record, all 2 hours. So, and again, there's some positivity here. But do you guys think we finally? This was from Michael. So do you think we finally are out of the hole we dug ourselves into with all of our bad COVID decision and roster buildings for the first year or two? Do you think we're finally out of the hole? I think that was been the theme of this episode a little bit. Like we're kind of out of the hole, right? We're fresh start, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's been the theme. And Vaughn's taken us through a lot of this, and hopefully people feel a lot better about where we're going because we have made mistakes, and that's part of it when you have a new team, And we did this during COVID. Like I said, I think we've listened to 2 coaches now that kind of got us in trouble. But yeah, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're off into a good direction. Vaughn, what do you think though?
Yeah, I think it's more the tunnel analogy. I think we were in the caved in tunnel. We've been moving the rocks, and it's starting to the path is clear.
Yeah.
And the train's finally about to get back moving forward.
All aboard.
All aboard. Jump on the train, jump on the bandwagon, whenever you want. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the really restrictive things on the roster were there. But we've also made some questionable signings between Alcivar at YDP, Mello at U22, Kamil Jozwiak at designated player. Those are swings and misses. at really important spots on the roster. So
Yep.
we gotta, like Matt Swift has said, we've got to get it right. We've got to get those pieces that are impactful to the first team in a long-term way.
Yeah.
All right, so I got one more question for us here. I think that way we can kind of call
it's
it.
past Savannah's bedtime, I'm seeing. So I hope I don't know if she dropped off, but let's wrap it up so she can
There we go. So we got one last one here. This one's from Casey again. So which away games are you guys going to catch this year? So I think that's a good one to end. So Vaughn, what do you think first? Because I already know Swift's going to get in a pickup truck with Chico and go across the country probably. So what about you, Vaughn?
I think I am for sure down for Atlanta. I want to make DC. We'll see where we're at that time of the year. I want to also make it down to Orlando. My wife is chomping at the bit for a Disney trip, so I think we're going to be doing Orlando and Disney.
Yeah, those are good ones. David, what are you gonna do this year?
So Atlanta's definitely on the books just because I'm kind of closer to it than living in Lexington than I am in Charlotte. So Atlanta's definitely on the books. I've talked to Laura about it. I'm gonna try to plan something for my birthday week because we play Austin that time. So I've never been to Austin, so it'd be a really cool kind of birthday travel.
Massachusetts.
Yes. But no, I think Austin would be a really cool one to go to. Be a lot of fun to kind of see that city, just to experience. I'd probably go early just to go check it out before the game. I think that's kind of it. DC's kind of on the radar because I could take a train. I think it'd be kind of cool to ride the train to DC. But we'll see. We'll see how many brownie points I can get from the wife for her birthday present, and then I'll cash those in.
Nice.
What about you, Swift?
Atlanta for sure. We're gonna do Nashville. I think I'm gonna ride with Chris Harmon though. So Chico has a new wife, so that kind of throws a wrench in, me riding with him. I might go to Austin though.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at Chico having a life. It was just the way that you said it. Like Chico has a new wife, and I don't know.
He kind of surprised me with it. Like he didn't say anything about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm getting married." I'm like, "What? Like what's happening?" So anyway,
the way you said it implied that you might have been his past wife.
No, not that no, not legally. So yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm supposed to go with him to Austin. So David, I'll see you down there because I definitely want to do that. So Nashville, Austin, Atlanta, and then probably DC at the end of the year because I have to make another trip to Walters and get plastered drinking there for 10 hours.
Well, Swift, we need to plan that week for Austin so we can go explore the city together and make some really good B content while we're down there, and be really fun. Defend the Queen said they want to experience the Swifty and Chico show just once. Well, that requires Chico to actually listen to the show. So I don't know if.
So he did last episode. He was in the chat thing, and I tried to get him tonight, but he's eating dinner with his wife now. Now he's taken away. He's got less time to hang out.
It's because I came back on the show, is what it was. So
it's probably true. But,
well, this has been a really fun episode. I think I'm just going to filibuster here for about 40 seconds, so that way we hit the 2-hour mark officially, and that way we can say that we hit that.
It's
just dead center. But Vaughn, I really appreciate you always joining, creating the optimism, and getting us ready to run into a brick wall for the team, and sharing that so that way it's not all doom and gloom. So thanks for joining us, breaking it down the roster. Thanks for doing everything you're doing for us. It's always a pleasure to have you on here, sir.
No, thank you for having me on. Thank you for valuing my voice and opinions. I'm just another dude. Anybody who disagrees with me, let me hear it. I don't care. I could be wrong, and I just want us to have a good time, go into the year with some optimism. It's not me drinking the Kool-Aid. It's me really believing that we can do this, and that it's not sky is not falling. So just trust the process. We're going to get there.
I just have to break this real quick. Casey, yes, I will meet you for Steel Hands. Just send me a message. Sorry. Go ahead. But any final thoughts there, Swift?
No, if you're new tuning in, please like and subscribe. And we're trying to do more stuff on YouTube here. And if you're listening to the podcast, thanks for listening, and make sure you're subscribing to the podcast. We got a lot of new content coming out, and maybe even this week, definitely next week, we have our first merch dropping. We're gonna have some t-shirts and some hoodies and all types of fun stuff. Jordan is designing some things for us, so we're gonna have some fun stuff. And I see that Charlotte FC podcast just popped in and made a comment. We're gonna be, I don't know if you can, David, but we're gonna be joining their show this week on Friday, so be on the lookout for that. Yeah, Savannah, thank you. Yeah, as soon as that launches, guys, I'll put it out on social media so you can see it. We'll start kind of small. We'll have a couple things, but we'll be growing that, doing a lot of other stuff. So
yep,
be on the lookout for it.
Make sure you do tune into the Charlotte FC podcast. It would be Swift for sure, possibly me. We'll see. But that'll be a lot of fun. But check out the merch when you do that. Make sure you like, subscribe. I might be trying to do some stuff from the season, like some game day stuff. I even told Swift I might be requesting some media credentials there, Vaughn, so I can do some interviews and photos for you. Be really official. I'll try to scope out who has the best calves, share that content. I'm sure Swift would love that. No, I'm just joking. So but hey, we officially hit the 2-hour mark, so I'm probably going to get into the doghouse with the wife, but I think this is a really fun episode. But guys, it's been a lot of fun. Any other thoughts real quick?
That's all I got.
Thank you to Renegade Goalkeeping.
There you go. Yes. Threw it in there.
Yes. Yes. Renegade Goalkeeping. Hell yeah. So yes, locally owned, guys. Go support them if you're here now. Go follow them. It's a local company. The owner is a Mint City Collective member. Really great dude. My nephew and his new bride to be are both like kind of like reps and models for them too, which is really hilarious and kind of a cool tie-in. So yeah, super got to. Yeah, go follow them. Great stuff. They also sponsor the 7-on-7 tournament that Charlotte FC was just in last summer. I think they're going to do it again. We've showcased the Mint City Collective gloves and the Charlotte FC gloves. They make some really cool stuff. So show them some love. Vaughn, thanks for the little plug there. That was awesome.
What a hell of a segue by Vaughn Pullman there.
Yeah.
Teed it up for you.
We got to get some gloves for Vaughn. So
yeah,
there you go.
Absolutely.
I'll put them right
awesome.
here.
Yeah. One last question
right,
before we go, before he hits this moment. Vaughn, score for the Super Bowl Sunday. What do you think?
Chiefs win. That's all I know.
Okay, good. Just making sure. I just want to make sure you're on the record for that. So, bye, everybody.
There we go. All right. Have a good night, guys. See ya. Boop, 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 boop.